Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall. I'm joined by Andrew this week, just us two this week, but still nonetheless, we're here for the old fan, the new fan, and the UK fan. We are back after what's been 2 weeks of just so much fun with the NFL games being back in London. We had that year off with COVID. They've come back. We've had one poor game, one very decent game. With the Jacksonville Jaguars winning last second field goal against the Miami Dolphins, beating them 23-20. Their first win since week 1 of 2020. They lost 20 straight games, and there was a lot of happy fans in the stadium. Some unhappy fans in the stadium as well. A lot of cup controversy out there. Not that we're going to go into that at all, Andrew. But what a great 2 weeks that was. I just wish it was more often. Well, maybe we can now go to Germany if they get a game.
Yeah, I mean it's so much fun. It's something to look forward to. It's so good being down there with the lads. It's a good excuse to meet up and have beers together when we don't see each other all year round. So and watch some great football at the same time. Seeing some of the rookies, despite whether the games were good or not. We got to see Zach Wilson. We got to see Carl Pitts. Got to see Trevor Lawrence. I got to see Tua, which obviously we hadn't seen yet. So yes, it was really really good. I would like a little shout out for me for Duval for last week calling the Jags win. So that's a plus side as well. But yeah, I thought the second game, the stadium as a whole just handled the game better for me as well. So it was just a lot better experience as well. So that was good.
Yeah, definitely the difference of being in the big swooping main stand to the other stand was a stark contrast. The big swooping stand. I know you're an Arsenal fan, but you got to admit, as a stadium for an experience, I know there's people out with the pub, getting beers and stuff like that. We had our problems with that. It was better the second time round, admittedly, but as a sit-in to watch the game stadium with the atmosphere, it's incredible, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's my dad's first time in the stadium, and obviously I sat next to him for the game, and he said like, "How does this compare to the Emirates?" And I just said, "You know what? The way you sit and the angle you sit at for the pitch, it is a phenomenal stadium once you're inside it." So yeah, I just felt even when we were in the nosebleeds, I still felt close to the pitch,
Hmm.
which was good. So yeah, I can't knock the stadium for a venue. It is a great place to watch sport.
We'll have to admit that also your man is a Spurs fan, so he's going to have some bias towards that. And obviously, you Arsenal fans out there, which we have many within the franchise tag. Yourself, Adam, Dan, all Arsenal supporters. I think Ash likes Arsenal as well as her team. Um, yeah, all you didn't set guys didn't set fire when you went into the stadium, so at least the whole you wore your garlic and you got through all okay. But you know how the show goes, guys. We're going to be talking about 2 points. Obviously, two of us may talk some general NFL stuff as well, just because there is only two of us here. Big shout out to our affiliate, Star Sports Betting. They are linked into our social media. Go on to Star Sports Betting for all your NFL betting needs this year. Some great odds on there. Great guys over there doing lots of specials with the NFL betting. So for Star Sports Betting, go check them out. Great affiliate program they're running with us. Obviously, there's a lot of betting apps out there, a lot of betting websites, but Star Sports endeavour to bring the best odds for the NFL all year. Andrew, we're going to kick off with you this evening, and then we'll move on to my point. And maybe, like I said, we'll talk some general NFL stuff as well. What are you bringing to the table for us to chat about?
Well, this week when I was looking at my topics, I had a quick scan through the all of the games, all of the standings, things like that, and I didn't want to just go obvious, so I thought I'd go bold or go home. So I've decided to put my money where my mouth is and talk about the Colts, who are currently 2-4, and how I've seen enough from their offense over the last 3 weeks to now be confident that if they can stay healthy, I think they could push to qualify for the playoffs. I think they've got the ability and they've got the team. Carson Wentz now getting it rolling. He's had what 3 games straight with over 100 passer rating. He's thrown 4 games with multiple touchdowns with no interceptions, which is tied for first in the league. So we're now no longer, they're starting to gel, which they didn't at the start of the season when they came up against some tough opponents in the Rams and the Seahawks. Um, they pretty much outplayed Baltimore Ravens for 3 quarters. And I know we've said on this show a lot when we talk about when the Vikings lost to Arizona that the Arizona didn't win it, the Vikings lost it. But I think when you look at the Colts Ravens game, it wasn't that case. The Baltimore Ravens won that game. The Colts didn't lose it. That was just everyone in that fourth quarter. Lamar Jackson, Calais Campbell stepped up and produced the goods. So, but they did that when I think Rhodes and Blackman were both off the field, the cornerbacks, and he exploited that secondary, which was a bit beat up in that game. So, like I say, I think if they can stay healthy, the defense has never been a question. It is good. It was that offense that we were worried about. I think if the wide receivers can get back to health and they can sort out that O line, which has been a bit shaky, been having to move some people around. I do think looking at their schedule, they could get 10 wins this season. I think that is enough to qualify, I think, in that half of the league as a potential wild card team. And if not, looking at the Titans' schedule as well, they could top that league. I mean, the next teams up for the Colts are the 49ers, the Titans, the Jets, and the Jags. I think there's the potential to go out there and win all four of those. I think, like I said, what I've seen from their offense over the last 3 weeks, I think there's the potential for them to go out and win those 4 games. I think on the flip side, the Titans have got 4 difficult games, and the Colts really only challenges, I think, are the Bills, the Bucks, and the Cardinals left. So yeah, I'm deciding to go bold on a prediction of a 2-4 team qualifying for the playoffs. I think if Titans do continue to produce the goods, I think they're a bit 50-50 at the moment. They either look like they're going to lose or they come out and they beat the Bills. It's one of them. But yeah, I just think it's going to be competitive for those wild card spots because there is some teams still sitting in second place that are 4-2, and there is a lot of 3-3 teams which are all ahead of the Colts at the moment. But yeah, I've seen enough from them to say they can go out there and produce the goods to get to a wild card spot and get to the playoffs. And if they are hot when they go into the playoffs, there's always that chance. Because, like I say, the last year, the reason they didn't get any further was because Philip Rivers just didn't have the arm to win that game, win more games for them. And Carson Wentz has the arm to do it. He's got like special game throwing talent to like just, produce that 60, 70-yard pass downfield and create something out of nothing. So, yeah, my point this week is Colts to qualify for the playoffs.
I mean, it's bold. Like I said, you've gone big and you've gone really for it. I have to admit, it was against the Texans. I will admit that. They looked notably better. That defense, like I said, there's never been a question. However, it hasn't been to the highest peak performance of it has been from what we know it can be and from what players are in that squad on the defensive side. Anyway, Darius Leonard, I mean, he's got multiple interceptions now, I think, in the last few weeks. That secondary is starting to look a bit better. Corey Willis is stepping up. They're starting to put good pressure there. It is the offense that has needed to step up. And with all these things, you need the rub of the green a bit. New quarterback. It would have been great if his whole offensive line was healthy for the whole year and all his wide receivers and it clicked straight away. That's not been the case. He's lost his left guard, Quentin Nelson, the left guard, best guard maybe, or best offensive lineman in the league, outside of a couple of the tackles that are out there. He's not played a lot of games. Eric Fisher, they're signing from the off-season, who was at the Chiefs, obviously, for a very long time, not featured at all. T.Y. Hilton's been injured. Paris Campbell's come back from injury. I mean, Paris Campbell had a heck of a game against the Texans. Michael Pittman has continued that upward trajectory. He's looking really great. I think their tight ends are very underrated in Mo Alley-Cox and Jack Doyle. It seems like 1 week one's the blocker and then 1 week the other one catches the passes and then they flip over. They are an impressive unit. They just haven't had the rub of the green. And I have to admit with you, when you look at the AFC teams and who would be in contention for the playoffs, they are rising up the board. I mean, they are 2-4, like you said, and there's outside of outside of when we look at the top now, Ravens are 5-1. I think they're definitely going to go. The Chargers are 4-2. They're definitely going to go. The Titans at 4-2. Who are Titans playing the next 4 games? You said they've got next four
Yeah,
hard
next four
games.
games, the Titans have got some difficult games coming up. They have got the Chiefs, the
Mm-hmm.
Colts, the Rams, and the
Okay.
Titans before they get a let up against the Texans. So they play each other in that mix up, but they're coming off the back of playing.
Sorry, that's who the Colts are playing.
Oh, sorry, that was the Titans. That's who the Titans have
Titans
got.
play.
Titans have got some tough games coming up. The
Mm.
Colts have got the 49ers, the Titans, the Jets, the Jags.
And the Titans have got the Chiefs, the Texans,
No, Chiefs, Rams, Colts, Saints.
Saints. Okay,
That's
cool.
that's some tough teams to go up against.
That is tough team. Yeah, that is tough. They're 4-2. There, Buffalo Bills 4-2. That's the top four spots, obviously. So Titans could easily, like you said, could easily swap with Colts in that division.
Yeah, I think there's a strong possibility they could lose all
Yeah,
four of those games, and then
yeah,
what they would end up 4-6,
yeah. Well, yeah, that could be.
and there'd be a
I
flip.
I think personally, I think the Titans' run game is so good, and I think the Chiefs are actually really underperforming at the minute. The Saints feel like they can be a 50-50 team, but their defense is rocking at the minute. When we look at the teams outside of the top four who would go through and win in the division, you got Bengals, Raiders, Steelers, Broncos, Chiefs, Browns, Patriots above the Colts at the minute. Well, the Steelers, I don't think, are going to have a winning record this year. We already stated that a lot of times. The Raiders now, without a head coach, that could be rocky for them. We just don't know. The Bengals, I think, have had a good run. Have had a good run of wins. I'm not overly confident how far they can go. The Broncos, I really like them, but I can see where the losses are. The Chiefs, you can never not say they're not going to be part of it because their offense is just so high powered. But we talked about their defense on here. It's been woeful. The Browns are having real bad injury trouble. I mean, Chubb, Hunt, Mayfield says he's going to play Thursday, but that's up in the air. And then the Patriots, I don't think you can. Though Mac Jones has looked very impressive, and it's Bill Belichick. He's always going to be in contention. Defense is still good. They still haven't got that many weapons. They're still not that great. So I don't think it's out of the question that the Colts could do a real push here. What more do you think they need to do to be able to push that playoff? Is it just worth keeping up with that offense? I mean, T.Y. Hilton being back for them is great. He's a great veteran to have there. He's been there, done that all. But the players do need to step up as well, don't they? I mean, Zach Pascal's good for a touchdown every now and then, but I think he maybe needs a bit more going for him. Paris Campbell definitely needs to show more. What do you think?
I mean, for me, I think it is a main thing is just staying healthy for the Colts.
Mm,
They've really had trouble keeping key players healthy. Like I say, I think Paris Campbell's taken another knock. T.Y. Hilton,
mm.
although he's back, we're not sure what is he going to be questionable for most weeks. That O line keeps swapping around because it keeps getting bumps and niggles. And is Eric
Mm.
Fisher really that fit? Has he recovered fully from his injury? Because he's not been great at left tackle yet. So they've got a great run game. They've got three excellent runners.
Well,
Carson Wentz,
there might be two. There might be two. There might Marlon
it might
Mack's
be a
in the.
trade. Yeah,
Mm,
they might be showcasing him for a trade. But Carson Wentz has really shown that he can take this team further than Philip Rivers. So yeah, I think it's just a case of keeping healthy. They've lost a lot in the secondary with Shake, so it's week on week, sort of trying to maintain the healthy um, structure of the team and keeping players together. I think they really need to start putting that defense needs to start putting a bit more pressure on quarterbacks. Their rush game needs to be a bit better. So I think we need to see a bit more out of Quitty Pay, who everyone was hot on. I think we need to see a bit more from him. And for me, it's just strengthening up that O line and putting a bit more pressure on the quarterback. And they're the two areas that I think if they can really home in on, I think they'll be a strong team because that offense for me has looked fantastic over the last 3 weeks. I don't think it was their fault for the loss of the Ravens, and then they've destroyed the Dolphins and destroyed the Texans. So it looks like that's clicking. So more pressure on the quarterbacks each week from them, and staying healthy on that O line. I think they'll be fine.
mm. I Completely agree. I'm going to move on to my point, which does hit close to home with you because it is the NFC East, but it is just basically the doom and gloom of the Washington football team defense. And another loss didn't look that bad in the first half, and then the Chiefs really turned it on. I just don't know where this defense has gone. I have said so many times, best front young seven in net football, best front young seven. And I've heard on a podcast today, it's the best young front seven in football. It's not. It's not anymore because I don't know what has happened. Something has changed with this defense where it's just really switched off. And I don't know whether it's just desire, whether it's the offense not being as high powered, Ryan Fitzpatrick getting his injury, not playing. But we saw Taylor Heineke against the Bucks in the wild card last year, and everyone was like, "This guy can play." And I have to admit, I think the guy can play, but I know that he's gone into a situation now where the offense is incredible for Washington. Has that put so much pressure on this defense to perform? Now, I would expect this defense to be able to have that pressure, to be able to work well, and to be able to perform. Really, they weren't like their offense was good last year under Alex Smith or Taylor Heineke, or even when Dwayne Haskins was playing at times. It wasn't good then, and yet they really stepped up. And it's just really nosedive. We talked about the Dolphins defense last week. I think the Washington one's worse. I mean, the second in the division in NFC East at the minute, 2-4, but the Eagles are 2-4, and the Giants are 1-5. The Cowboys are the top division of 5-1. So it's no great feat being second in the NFC East at the minute. Not that it is really any year in the last recent years. They've had wins against the Giants and against the Falcons. They beat Giants 30-29 and Falcons 34-30. They lost to the Chargers, the Bills, the Saints, and the Chiefs now as well. I would argue the Chargers was the first game of the year, so you don't know what you're going to get for that. But the Chargers are emerging as a top 10 team. Bills top 5 team, Chiefs top 5 team. They've played some really hard. Saints a very good team as well. They've played some really hard teams. They've won the games they're probably meant to have won, which was the Giants and the Falcons game. But what has happened to this defense? Last year, this was the fourth best ranked defense according to Pro Football Reference in 2020. They were second in total offensive yards with 4,873. They were second. This is what's quite funny is we all thought they were great at like the like sacks and like pressure on the quarterback, which is true, and this has probably contributed to this. But they were really good in the passing game as well, like really, really good. They were second in passing yards, fourth in passing touchdowns, fifth in interceptions. And they were great in the rushing game as well. They were 14th in rushing game and 11th. So, better than mid pack. But actually, their passing defense was really, really good last year. I think that was helped due to the pressure that the front seven were giving. I mean, they were 6th in sacks, they had 47 sacks. They were 11th in quarterback pressures, second in yards after the catch as well, meaning they might be able to get the ball to the players, but the player would stop there. They wouldn't be able to get any additional yards. People like Montez Sweat, Chase Young, obviously being a rookie last year, just were phenomenal. 9 sacks for Sweat, 7.5 sacks for Young, 12 tackles for loss by Sweat, and 10 tackles for loss by Young as well. And Kendall Fuller got 4 interceptions as a cornerback. They were really very impressive. It's completely flipped. These stats are worrying. They're the 32nd best defense in the league over 6 games. They're 32nd. They're dead last in total offensive yards with 2,538. They're dead last in passing yards. They're dead last in passing touchdowns. They are 20th and below in rushing yards. They only have 12 sacks, which is 19th. They have 71 quarterback pressures, which is second. That's the only good stat they have. The only good stat. They've conceded 25 plus points in 5 of the 6 games. And I just don't understand what has happened. They have some incredible players on that team. They have 6 first-round picks in that defense. Jamin Davis, admittedly, is the rookie for this year. 2018, Deron Payne, Chase Young in 2020, Montez Sweat 2019, Jonathan Allen 2017. They had got in William Jackson, the cornerback from the Bengals, who was the Bengals' first-round pick. So though I say 6 first-round picks, it's 5 by Washington. They've acquired William Jackson, who was a first-round pick for the Bengals in 2016. We said they need to get better in the secondary. They drafted Jamin Davis. They got in Will Jackson. They brought in David Mayo. But it's the whole defense has just deteriorated. And I just don't understand why. I just can't pick out why. It's not like they've played many high-power teams. They've played some good teams, don't get me wrong. And I don't contribute this to them having their record and to be a poor team this year. I understand their offense is no good. Taylor Heineke is not it. Fitzpatrick looked good. They lost Curtis Samuel, who they signed in off season, who was going to be their main second threat next to Terry McLaurin. He's only just got back. So I just don't understand. I thought this team was moving forward. Everyone had these teams that this year was going to be moving forward, maybe playoff perennial teams, but teams that were going to take that next step up. The Panthers were one of them. The Broncos were one of them. Washington was one of them. I would argue the Giants was in the conversation because of what you did with the defense over the offseason was a team that I thought would step up. The Chargers, a team people thought would step up, and they just have not. They are going backwards, if anything. I think they will win 5 games this year. They are playing the Packers. They are at the Packers. They are at the Broncos. They've got the bye week in week 9. They've got the Bucks. They're at the Panthers. They've got Seattle. They're at the Raiders. They've got the last 5, which I presume is the exact same for you guys as well in New York. The last 5 are all divisional games. That is a tough run for your last 5 games to be in division. That's where your division could be. It could be. Well, I know it looks like Dallas are running away with it. Your division by week 16 could have completely flipped. That's how crazy the NFC East is. How crazy the NFC East has been for years now. Like I said, but they're against Dallas and at the Eagles and at Dallas, and they're against the Eagles again, and then they're at the Giants to finish the season. I think they beat the Eagles. I think they beat the Eagles twice, and I think, well, I'm not confident in saying that either. And I think they'll beat the Giants. I don't think you'll stay healthy enough. I think they lose to the Packers, the Broncos, the Bucks, Panthers, Seahawks. By week 12, Russell Wilson's back. Raiders, Dallas, they'll lose to twice. This team has taken a complete U-turn. I mean, they finished last year 7-9 and they lost a wild card to the Bucks 21-23. And 7-9 was a score a record we said from was fair and better than they probably should have been. But I thought that they would have taken the next step up here. This ceiling has just been hit. I don't know whether it's the Ron Rivera coaching, which I really like Ron Rivera. I love the coaching of them guys. I love this front seven, the young front seven. I do think on paper it is the best in football. Performance-wise, it is not. I like what they did over the offseason. They kept Fuller. They brought in Willie Jackson. They got Landon Collins in. They drafted Jamin Davis, who at the time though we didn't believe he was the best middle linebacker there, I could get why they were doing it. That's where they were weak. If anything, in hindsight, they should have gone JOK, which is a player that we all thought that could be in the shout of there. I just don't. I don't see what's progressing forward. If they're going into the draft at 5 and 12, they're a top 5 pick, maybe a top 8 pick. They're going to have to look at quarterback there, I think, because Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't the future and neither is Taylor Heineke. That could change franchise. But you need bad teams offensively can have great defenses, and that gets them going and gets them through it. This is just Washington football team. Where have you gone and what has happened to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree with you. I mean, when I spoke about the Dolphins last week, I only spoke about them because of the expectation that we had of the Dolphins. I think I did mention that I think Washington defense has been the most disappointing thing of this NFL season out of everything we've got. I think that you've hit every nail on the head with all your points. They were all the things that I thought. You can't invest that many first round picks into defenders and them not produce the goods after what they did last year. It's just not acceptable. They've got the coaching that they wanted, Ron Rivera. Everyone thought that was the right person to move that defense, build it, and then move it forward. You know, no one questioned that he wasn't the right guy. Still don't think there is much question that he is not the right guy. But yes, something's not right there. That I don't know whether there's a lack of leadership or what on that defense, but it's not producing the goods. I think, if anything, the offense has probably been a bit more impressive than I thought it was going to be, which is the only reason I didn't bring them up as my topic last week, because I thought, it's just the defense that's the problem here. when you talk about the games that they've got left and how many you think they can win, when you're looking at divisional rivalry games and how big a rivalry those games are,
Mhm.
they're not said and done wins against the Giants and the Eagles. I think everybody's always up for them. We saw that when the Giants played the Washington football team in the first game, which was won on the last kick of the game. The Giants should have
Mhm.
won that game. If it wasn't for jumping offside, they would have had the win. So Washington would have been in even more trouble than what you're saying. Uh, so yeah, I think next year you're right. They have got to invest in the offense. You can't just let it deteriorate every year and just build this fantastic defense because it's not gonna wash with the big names that are on the side. McLaurin and Gibson are going to be going. Hang on, how do we progress and move forward as an offense? So, yeah, I think they will next year need to look at offense. There has been a slight decline in what's happening with the quarterbacks at college this year for some reason. The names that we thought would step up and find another gear haven't. So I don't know. And there is a lot of fantastic defenders, cornerbacks, edge rushers. There's some fantastic O linemen going in this draft early. So will they look at addressing the quarterback position with what's happened? Has Taylor Heineke done enough to secure his spot? I don't know, but I fully agree with you that it's not acceptable. I think when you look at the points they've conceded as well, how can you expect an offense to even challenge with that? What have
Mm.
they've conceded? 37, 20, 43. 29, 30, 33. If you need to be conceded, you need to, with the front seven they've got, and like you said, the stability they've got at cornerback now, you shouldn't be giving up any more than your average shouldn't be any more than sort of 17 to 20 at the most, really.
Mm.
So to concede an average of 30 points a game, you're asking a very tall order for the offense. So you're not even giving the offense a chance when this team is, people have said championships have been won by defenses. They should be in that caliber of conversation when winning games. When the Broncos won their championship and for Manning, they were saying, oh, Manning's being carried by the defense. We should be saying that about Washington. We should be saying, oh,
Yeah.
offense isn't really getting going, but they're being carried by that defense.
But
That's
they
what
but they but they have better offensive weapons than that Broncos team had. From what I remember, it's a long time ago now that Broncos team won it. But Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson, they are some very key. They are very, very. You could argue, top five in league for a lot of them. I think you could argue that. Now, I don't believe that, but I could see where the argument is discussed that Terry McLaurin could be a top five receiver. Logan Thomas could be within the conversation of a top five tight end. Curtis Samuel could definitely be in the conversation for a second, top end second string wide receivers out there. And Antonio Gibson for a young running back is exceedingly good. You talked about leaders. They've drafted a defensive player for every year for 5 years now. I mean, isn't that meant to be your leaders? Paying young Sweat Allen on that defensive line. That's meant to be that. And we saw Young last year.
Yeah,
Young was a leader last year. We saw him how much
yeah,
he
he
led,
was he
and
was the
he
captain. He was the
he was
captain at
phenomenal.
Ohio. There is value in taking the captains from the college teams, but when I mean leader, I mean they all are very, very young. So
Mm,
what are we missing? If you'd have put JJ Watt in there,
yeah.
is that just elevating that defense because it's not just pure athletic and raw talent of Chase Young putting the pressure on. It's teaching Chase Young how to position the defenders, how and like Sweat as well, like reading the game and reading the plays as they go on. They've is there that old fantastic back
Mm,
that knows the game, that's teaching them and showing them, your Ray Lewis, your Troy Polamalu, your JJ Watt. they that when you look at big defenses and defenses that have carried teams, they've had that person on there
Yeah,
that's brought
that
all
that
these youngsters in
embodies that embodies that team.
and just sort of teaches these youngsters, and then
Mm,
they take over. Then
mm,
they take over from what they've learned at training and stuff like that. And it's not just about doing your job well, is it? It's not about raw athletic talent off the
mm,
edge, putting pressure on the quarterback. Yes, that's great defending, but it only works if you're all singing off the same hymn sheet, you're all seeing the same thing. And when there is lots of youngsters that are fresh out of college, they're being taught lots of different things from lots of different coaches. You Ryan Day or Debu Dabu Sweeney or whatever, Nick Saban, wherever these people have come from, they all coach very, very differently.
mm.
So, um, what are you listening to? What's now you're in the NFL? Who's your guide now? Who's teaching you what? Because you were the best player at your college. You were the leader. No one
Mm.
was better than you. You were bringing on the recruits from high school, showing them how to play NCAA football. It's different. So I think, are they missing a big veteran name that's been there and done it? Not
Like
obviously.
the only one that comes to mind to me that was in trade talks that he was wanting to get out, which he won't be now, was Chandler Jones. Which he wouldn't probably start. You don't feel like when you look at them names, but if you'd have traded for someone like him, for example, from the Cardinals, because that was only just before the season where he was like, "I want out. I'm getting traded. I want to get traded." But them rumors were coming out. Now he ain't gonna be leaving anyway. Now they're 5-0. He's like, "Oh no, I'm sticking here for the long. I'm sticking here for the time being." But do you think there is a player out there that they could maybe look at bringing in?
um, I've not really looked at it. There's always going to
No,
be
no.
there's always going to be room to look at a trade. But you run the risk then of bringing someone in with maybe a high salary cap from them that might not help them. It might
Mm,
just be that this team needs time. Like we said, we've said that Ron Rivera is the right guy to take this defense forward. We
mm.
know they've got the right pieces in Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and Chase Young has the ability to become that leader. But I think it's going to take time, and I think they will bounce back from this. But it is disappointing to watch with the expectation that we had of them.
Do you think that's the problem though? Is that we talked about this in the first episode we did this year? We talked about what we're looking forward to, and I said defense. I love defense, and we talked about sack leaders and people who are going to be really coming into their own this year. And you said Montez Sweat's my guy this year. He's not one people are talking about, but he is going to be electric. I said Chase. I said, of course, Chase Young's going to be in the conversation as well. These guys are not. They're not in the conversation with top 10 edge rushers or even maybe top 20 edge rushers this season yet. I mean, they could have a turnaround, but it's the problem that last year an anomaly, not the consistency now. Though we believed, looking at it, that okay, we've seen what this team can be. Now it's going to be progressing the consistency of it. Was that maybe just the anomaly, and that this team really just had a very good year last year?
No, I don't think it's necessarily an anomaly. I think it's more when you get guys fresh out of college, and Montez Sweat didn't. I'm sure he played a lot in his first year. So I think when you look at his first proper season, it was that season with Chase Young. Um, you've got a point to prove when you're fresh out of college, and you've got the bit between your teeth, and the adrenaline's going to be high every game because you're an NFL player. The
Mm.
second year is about then harnessing that and learning the NFL. You can't get away, like I said, you can't get away with just raw talent. And because they are so young, I think is their oldest defender like on that front seven, like 26. That's like first team.
I think Matt Ioannidis is 29. If he's a starter, but is he a
Yeah,
starter?
I'm
He's not
talking the
really a
starters.
starter, is he?
I think you probably look at 26 as their eldest one. Um, and like I say, it's just a case of like I said, do they need that that older veteran. It might be
Mm,
slower, might not play many snaps. Why don't you just get someone in that is only there to play 40% of the snaps,
mm,
but on the coaching field is teaching you the veteran moves,
mm,
is showing you what to be looking at in the NFL, because you're not looking at the same when you're looking at the offense and you're looking at the reads. They're not the same as
mm,
college at all, um, and you need someone who's seen everything, and that's worth its weight in gold. Even if you bring on someone that's might be a little bit banged up, might be a bit injured, might their best days are past them, but they're
mm.
worth their weight in gold probably on the training field, as long as if
Yeah.
they're a massive name. And I think it's just about going right. Do we need to pick maybe a linebacker, or is Chase Young the guy? We're gonna develop them into the leader, and you all need. We've seen this with Kyler Murray. I know it's a different position, but you need more than 2 years before you're written off. You need,
Mm,
your first year, great, you can have a great year. Your second year, you need to build. Have you? I don't know. Your third year, put those things into practice. I think it takes you maybe back end of 3, 4 years to truly know whether you're NFL ready.
mm.
Josh Allen wasn't fantastic straight off the bat either. It took him a while to develop into what he is today. And I think that's the case with these big stars that they've got there. You need someone to show them, and it was going to take them a little time. So yeah, I agree. Put some money into that offense and stick with this defense. Yes, it's been disappointing. I think it will bounce back with the names that are on it, and they showed us enough in year one that they can build on it. So I'm not gonna worry too much that they have been so disappointing, because they need time with how young they are.
I think there's a future of it is quite foggy in Washington at the minute, and we shall see what happens moving forward. That's all we've got time for. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, Andrew, for joining me once again. We'll be back this week with the fantasy show and back with the Sunday preview shows, which we haven't been doing recently because obviously the Tottenham games have been going to them, not being at home to be able to do the preview shows. Um, Again, Andrew, thank you for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for watching and your continued support. Like and subscribe to the video, subscribe to our YouTube account, follow us on social media. Really appreciate it. Just before we go, massively important thing of this week, me and Andrew played in fantasy football against each other in the fantasy league, and I beat him. So long may the reign of King Freddie continue. I'm now on a winning streak of 1. So yeah, I'll be winning the league in no time. So just to put all your minds at ease out there who has been watching the fantasy show. See you all next week. Have a great week. Cheers again.